part 2 of the selection human resources activity. Second last step of your selection process says offer the person the job. Now, the way you offer them the job is by giving them an employment contract. And the employment contract is an agreement between the employer and employee relating to the job or the employment, and it's a legally binding document. When I look at this, it says name, state, or outline. What are some of the aspects that should be in the employment contract? You should know at least 5 of these. And just briefly, things like this is the personal details of the employee, their ID, etc. The details of the business or the employer. What is the job title? What is the job description? What is the job specification? Things like what is the hours of work, remuneration, what is his leave, what are some of the deductions, benefits, and very importantly, both employer and employee have to sign that contract. Discuss the legal requirements of the employment contract. Very importantly, here you see the definition again. It is a legal document between the employer and the employee, and both parties have to sign the contract. No party may unilaterally, in other words, just one party, change anything without the other party knowing. Both of them have to be in agreement. Both parties have to sign the contract. If one of the parties didn't sign the contract is null and void. All the terms and conditions of the job have to be in that contract. Now, this is a question that came across once or twice in the last 5 years. You can expect something similarly. This is slightly a difficult question where they will give you a scenario and then say from the scenario, identify challenges that this person has experienced with regard to his contract. For example, Mr. Dupree is a newly appointed financial manager. His employment contract only bears his signature. The contract states that he may be required to work 12 hours overtime a week. He is also expected to perform other duties which is not listed in the contract. Now the problem with this is, this links directly to the BCEA. So guys, BCEA, I know we don't like legislations, you have to know it. Get the answer. Challenge, it only bears Mr. Dupree's signature. It didn't say quotes, you didn't have to rewrite the whole sentence, but you won't be penalized if you did. Recommendations, both the employer and the employee have to sign the contract. Challenge, Mr. Dupree is expected to work 12 hours overtime per week. Very importantly, the person can only work 10 hours overtime per week according to the BCEA, or both parties have to be in agreement, like I said, with regard to overtime. Then Mr. Dupree is expected to do duties which is not listed in his contract. All of his duties and responsibilities have to be clearly set out, and that is the only work that he or she is supposed to be performing. Then guys, this is a question that I see in every paper. I've included for you where they allocate the marks as well, in order to help and assist you. And this is the reasons why the contract can be terminated. First of all, if there's a valid reason. In other words, there was a misconduct. The person stole from the business. They were given the sufficient number of warnings, or whatever the case may be. The employer no longer have work, and therefore the employee is redundant because the business is restructuring. It does not say redundancy. It doesn't mean the business has financial difficulties. Financial difficulties is when the employee gets retrenched. If the person is redundant, it means that, for example, with Standard Bank. Standard Bank last year got a lot of workers contracts terminated for the reason most people do the work of their banking online. Employees willingly leave and resign for another job, or the employee have reached a predetermined age, for example 65, for retirement. The person is incapacitated to do his job due to injuries or illnesses and will then be paid by COIDA and no longer the business. Maybe the contract had a specified time frame and that has come to an end, or if both parties are in mutual agreement, the employer and the employee. Take note of this. This will be in your paper.